Hi, my name's Ian Wallace. I call myself the Messed Up Counsellor, which is quite an intriguing name. And the podcast you're about to see is one of many, and we've been doing about a year now. So you can look back and see all the things we've talked about with guests and on my own over the process. A lot of the information I use in the podcast initially came from the first book I wrote in 2011. Why do we do that? What do we do about it? And that came out and was the basis of all my learning, understanding at that time, which is going back a few years now. And that process of understanding how the world works for people, how we can alter, change and adapt it, was kind of what it was there to do with the initial stages. I've made that now an audiobook as well, so it's available on Amazon as an audio file that you can check out and you can download to your heart's content, and hopefully that will be helpful. In the podcasts, we're trying to look at all sorts of things about human interactions, human dynamics, the world, and how we might understand it more or change it more. So it gives you lots of ideas and tools in order to think about and look at different ways of being or dealing with things. And hopefully that brings people together and makes people more able to connect and communicate. Lots of topics. If you ever want to connect to me, just obviously drop me a comment on the podcast and I shall try as much as possible to reply. And if you've got any ideas of things that we might want to use on the podcasts, then please let me know. My name's Ian Wallace. Thanks for looking and thanks for listening. So, good morning, Molly.
Morning.
And Molly's here today to talk about her role, her job, her career, which is great, and also some of the aspects of the kind of relationships and the downside of working for yourself and being self-employed, which is kind of what's a big area.
Yeah.
Being self-employed.
It's chaos, to be honest.
So give people a bit of a rundown about yourself and who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Molly. I work freelance in kind of music and events. So I was at uni, graduated a couple of years ago doing music management. Naturally kind of progressed and found myself like loving going to gigs and wanting to work in live events. So I started doing something called gig repping, where you kind of work on behalf of promoters to kind of represent them, run their gigs and make sure that all the artists are happy, everyone's got everything they need, that kind of babysitting really. And then since then I've kind of found myself working in the complete other side of the music industry now, which is doing A&R, so it's artist and repertoire, which I do it in publishing, so it pretty much means scouting talent, getting writers, producers, vocalists into a room, creating songs and then kind of pitching them and looking at what we can do with these songs. So I do a bit of a mixture of everything, to be honest. It's really nice kind of working in both sides of the music industry as well, because, no 2 days are the same, which I enjoy. A bit of variety.
Yeah, that variety, I suppose, when you're self-employed. I mean, I have variety in what I do. I don't just do one thing because it would bore the life out of me.
Yeah.
Whereas kind of putting different hats on and different heads on and different problem solving and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It is like completely different. I feel like both are similar in a way that I'm like really connecting with the like creatives and kind of finding them and working closely with them. But, a live event is completely different to being in a studio with two people. Like you do put different hats on, like you say.
Yeah. So when you're kind of doing all that work, and you're kind of, how long you been in that? Say 2 years? Did you say when you graduated?
So I graduated in 2022. I kind of started working in music in 2023. So it'll be like 2 years this year, really.
Yeah. So those pressures of being self-employed, like all of us, unfortunately, how does that affect you in your kind of like relationships, your kind of looking at the world, and how kind of much you have to do to get that money coming in to earn a living?
I feel like I'm constantly working. I don't feel like I necessarily have a day off, because even when I'm not working, I'm thinking, right, next month I've only got a few things in the calendar. Who do I need to reach out to? Where can I look for like my next bit of work? So it's nice knowing that I have like my A&R job, which is like 3 days a week, that I can rely on, but also doing 3 hours 3 days a week isn't going to pay my rent. It's not going to pay my bills. So I need to like be able to find the other bits in between too. It's hard as well when I have friends who are working like in 9-to-5 jobs, consistent income, and you know, and I'm like, they must think my life's all over the place. They must think this girl's crazy. But you know, that can be hard, the comparison side of it, and thinking like, am I doing as well? Like, is this the right thing? I feel like it is. But it's it can be hard comparing yourself. I do feel very lucky that my partner is freelance as well, so he works as like an audio engineer and tour manager, so that's really helped as well, because I've seen someone else doing it, and I've got someone so close to me doing it that I can kind of like,
and he gets it completely.
And you know, we can work around each other and like big each other up, and also like a lot of it is word of mouth and like who you know, so we kind of got each other like different jobs a lot as well, which has been really, really helpful.
So you can introduce different people to each other.
Completely.
Because you might have skills and he's got skills, so that together you might be able to farm that work out.
Exactly. It's really helpful, because people that he knows he can introduce me to, people that I know I can introduce him to. From the back of that, we can, you know, get more work and progress in our careers and kind of do it together alongside each other, which is power couple.
That's one word for it, isn't it? Power couple, I like that. So when you're kind of working with that process, and your kind of work is so varied, you know, and you don't get a day off, as you've said, how do you manage your life?
I think time management and scheduling things, like my calendar is crazy, but making sure that in any gaps I actively reach out to friends who aren't involved in kind of the music and my industry, and you know, and get fresh perspectives from people, I think, and you know, make sure I make time for people who who I know are my good friends who work in different industries, and like physically like have it in the calendar and be like, today I'm seeing Ellie for lunch, or like I'm doing an escape room with Mia, like it, you know, it's really making sure that I put that in the calendar. And holidays, like I need to arrange a holiday, but like having a girls' holiday would be amazing. I need to.
So having that pre-planning, it's kind of like what people do when they're employed, isn't it? You know, we book holidays and we look forward to them. And we kind of say, right, okay, I can go through this next month, which is hard, because month after, I've got 2 weeks in wherever. You know, so having that planned time, not just work planned time, but also planned social time.
Like sorry,
it's okay.
God, like social planning. You've got to plan all your work, everything that's coming in, and then by the time you've done that, it is a bit like, oh, I need to have a social life as well. That's difficult. So then it's like planning all that, and then even as well, like as I say, like seeing friends outside of like this industry is important, but also a lot of my friends do kind of work in the same thing. So when I see them, you're still talking about work, and you're still kind of, you know, networking all the time, and like everything, you're kind of going for chats all the time with different people. By the time it comes to the end of the day, I don't want to see anyone else. I want to lay in bed and watch Netflix and just like turn my head off. Like,
don't talk to anybody.
I just want to like sit in a dark room on my own with no noise. You know what I mean?
I do.
I can imagine you feel the same, to be fair, being a counsellor.
Yeah, it's very similar. You know, that you kind of be so intensely engaged with somebody for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, whatever, and then it's like, don't talk to me.
You're like constantly around people, and it's like, right, I don't need this anymore. I'm done.
So you're in a sense lucky in a sense that your relationship, they're in a similar kind of process, being self-employed and all those
Yeah,
kind of things.
I do feel very lucky in that way.
Yeah.
I can imagine it must be hard if one person is. I mean, at one point I was like fully employed. I was working in a bar like 2 years ago, and it was difficult because when you are like employed by somewhere full time, your whole life is kind of around that one place, and it's difficult to kind of step back and look at, I guess, like what my partner's doing and being like in different jobs and different places. It can be difficult to, like, I don't know the word, compare maybe, but yeah.
And I suppose, because I work with people within the counselling process where one person will be self-employed, and they're always worried about, have we got enough money for the month, and trying to kind of make sure we got it all in. So you put yourself under an awful lot of pressure sometimes, as you know. But for the partner that's not in that process, it's like, well, why are you still on your phone at 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
Why can't you? Well, yeah, but I'm doing this contract, or I'm doing this possible contract, or whatever is coming up.
Absolutely. I think I'm definitely guilty of that when I first got into my relationship, and I was like, why are you on your phone all the time? Like, what? Like, sorry, do you like me? Like, I was like, I don't understand. Just turn it off. And he's like, but I'm getting messages about work and I need to make sure I've got it in. And I'm like, okay. But now I completely get it.
You understand?
Yeah. And I'm grateful that he gets it as well, because if not, I don't know, it might be quite difficult.
If you don't reply on digital processes, then there's always that fear that somebody else will reply.
Exactly.
And you'll miss the chance, or you'll miss the opportunity. So you kind of, it pressurises you into kind of reacting, doesn't it?
Oh, it really does. And I'm in like group chats for, live music promoters in Leeds, and like the person who organises it will send a message and everyone's jumping in the group chat being like, I'll have that shift, I'll have this shift. And it's like, if you miss that might be your work for the next month just gone and taken by other people. It's so competitive.
Yeah.
So it's really important to just kind of, I think as well, one of the most important things, especially in music, is just getting to know everyone and just reaching out to everyone and making sure that you've got your fingers in a lot of different pies, because you don't want to just rely on one promoter or one label or one thing, unless like you are going into a full-time employment with them. But when you're working freelance, it's important to have your fingers in different pies, because you never know what might end up from something, or who someone might get on and might take some jobs instead of you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. And anybody that's self-employed has that as a backdrop that pressurises you. Do you think for your age, and I mean, okay, I'm well down the path now, but do you think for your age as a female in the industry, do you think that's harder for you to get those kind of connections or not?
That's an interesting question. I definitely think it's very male dominated, and I kind of knew that from being at uni and hearing like case studies, and I wrote my dissertation on like female DJs because I noticed that there was kind of a gender gap. But I think it's only been since I've been working in it that I actively see that, wow, like especially in live music, it's very male dominated. But I think that I use it to my advantage of being a female, and that I can kind of use it as a bit of a selling point in a way, and be like, not kind of brand myself on that, but I think so many like organisations are striving for equality, and I think they're looking for young female people who have like ideas and are proactive, and I think in a way it kind of works in my favour.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if
so
that
a positive bias, if you like.
Yeah.
Kind of going to even the numbers or even the gender.
Yeah, in a sense. I don't know if that's just me being naive, but I don't know. I feel like, I think for like certain promoters, I might even go as far as saying if I wasn't female, I don't know if I'd be working for them, because I think they're looking for more female people. They want like more diversity, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
It is, absolutely. And I think it should.
Yeah,
obviously
absolutely.
balance the process, because whatever your skill is your skill.
Yeah.
Why does it matter if it comes with a gender?
Yeah.
And it was the same for me when I started in counselling, because most of the counsellors were female.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, one person within 50.
Yeah,
females,
I can imagine, actually.
I mean, it's different nowadays. It's starting to even up. But more so with the medical and the kind of process-orientated counsellors, where they seem to be more male than female. So the softer approach is more female than male, if you like.
Yeah.
But the kind of more organised, structured approach is more male than female, or it seems to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's totally true. I've got no statistics on it before you plant one. Not you. So that process of working in a better way, do you think that female perspective helps? Because you're going to see it different to a male, aren't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's just different, isn't it?
It is, massively.
I think a gig that I run, or say, I've not actually met any male A&Rs, so I don't know the difference. Right. I've met one, but I don't know. He works for Italian Music, but I don't know him very well.
Right.
I've only met him briefly. So I feel like I wouldn't know too much of a difference in that aspect, but in terms of live music, I feel like I don't know if this is the right way of saying it.
It's okay, just say it.
But I don't know whether it's in like female nature or like feminine nature to like strongly connect more with people. And kind of with artists, I feel like I can really connect with them and make them really comfortable. Where when I see a lot of male reps and like males working in live music, they're kind of a bit more structured and a bit more like, this is that, this is that, this is that, this is how it's going to run. Where I kind of like, I don't know, I kind of chat. I just love chatting, to be honest. And I just kind of feel like it's important to connect with the artist and make sure that they're kind of comfortable and work towards their needs, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, it does. Because, in my world, the female aspect tends to build more relationships with people.
Yeah.
So we call it therapeutic bonding.
Yeah.
Basically, so people trust us and feel comfortable and all those kind of things. And generally, there is males like myself who can do that, but generally males, which is why they kind of go into the CBT programs and the structured programs, because they feel more comfortable with that, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. I feel like it's often, like I said, a lot more like work by like structure. And then I don't know if that's got like something to do with like female hormones, because I know that like the 9 to 5 day is like apparently set up like kind of around men and like their kind of hormonal structures, where with females they're kind of in a monthly cycle. So I don't know whether that has something to do with it. Might be a random point,
I think everything has something to do with everything,
Yeah.
So working that process, and as a female in your industry, but there's a lot of industries where females are working which isn't as easy to make those connections and be part of it, Is there times when you thought, I've had enough, let me go, pack it in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Towards the end of last year I was like, is this what I want? I was like working, so I was here at Talyard, and then I was at a gig in the evening constantly, because it's like the busy season, it's gig season, it's when everything's going on. So you need to stack that money up, because in January there's nothing. Like I say it's been chill, it's been quite busy, to be honest. It's actually turned out busier than I expected. But when the work's there, you want to take it because you don't know what the next month's looking like. So it's I have had times where I've been like, oh, this is a lot, and like, just being a bit stressed. But I think I kind of look at it from another perspective, and I think, how lucky am I to be doing this job and to be so busy with it, and to have all this work coming in. And like this has always been like I've always wanted to kind of work in the creative industries. The fact that I'm able to do that and work for myself and do it freelance at 23, like I can't believe it. I'm really proud of myself. So you know, that kind of outweighs the stress and the sense of feeling overwhelmed, I guess.
So people watching this, young people who might be kind of getting into work and self-employed and starting that process and getting to that point of going, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Let me go and work in McDonald's or whatever. You know, do you think that how you've said, right, no, stop that, let's keep going, you know, because round the corner there might be something really nice. What do you think drives you to keep that going? What kind of thought process makes it, no, forget that, let's move on, let's go for it?
Oh, that's difficult.
I know.
I think trusting the process and thinking, I think reflecting on kind of where I was a year ago to where I was now. Where I am now, sorry. And thinking, right, if I've done that in a year by what I've been doing, then surely if I carry it on next year, I might be somewhere even better. I think practicing gratitude as well, but
what do you mean by that, gratitude?
Just kind of sitting with your thoughts and, like I say, reflection, like feeling, I don't know the best way to phrase it, but kind of rather than kind of worrying or thinking about what might not happen or what you want to happen but what you think is a massive jump, kind of sitting and thinking about how far you've come, how you're so grateful. Like I said, I feel so grateful. I feel so grateful to be working kind of in this industry and working for myself, and focusing on that, I feel helps me to carry on and strive to the next thing. I don't know if that made sense.
No, it does. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, absolutely.
But
looking at that with young people more, well, actually, I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's wherever you go. I mean, I came into being self-employed when I was 40, so I'd not done it before then, you know, and I'd always worked for other people. So I don't think it's an age thing about that kind of reliance on income, which we all have to do, unfortunately. But when I get to those points where I think, oh, I've had enough, you know, don't do this anymore, and go back and stacking shelves in supermarkets and stuff, you know, I think for me it's a case of, no, put that to bed, because you've been here before. You've had this thought before. You didn't do it then. You can't look at it and say, well, actually, I'm going to do it now, because you've gone through it. You've processed it. So that reflection thing that you were talking about, you know, I've got over hurdles before. Yeah,
for sure. Do you know, I often look at people when I'm like sat on the bus or sat on the train, and I look at them and I think, I'm like, or even like when I see people working kind of in Asda, and I think, I wish I could just do that and be happy, but I just constantly want more. And I just like, I don't know if anything will ever be enough, because even now I'm like, as much as I'm grateful, but I want more. I want to keep going. I want to carry on, and I don't know if that'll ever stop, which is, you know, it's scary. But I find that with a lot of people who work for themselves and kind of work freelance, is that I think you need that striving for more, and you need that like drive to be able to do it. You know, it's really important to have that passion and that want, that ambition. Because if not, you know, you're not going to want to go out and find the work. You're not going to want to put yourself in a situation or meet people that might be able to help you. And
And I suppose going forward with that kind of opportunity of more and more, for me, burnout is a big thing that I have to guard against in a sense, because people are saying, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do the other? And the temptation to go, yeah, because you want to bank some of the cash.
Yeah. And you don't want to
interested
say no,
in it.
yeah.
You think, that's really interesting to do. It's not always about money. But I think that burnout thing for me is a real possibility. Absolutely. And for people in our business, my business, and I presume your business as well.
Yeah, for sure. Because you don't want to say no to any opportunities because you don't know what it might lead to.
Indeed.
But then, if you have to say no to certain things, because if not, you're going to snowball, and then you get to a point and you're doing so much, you do so much, and then you just burn out. And it's like, I can't do anything for 2 weeks. I just need to lay in bed. And that's worse than just like gradually saying no to bits and bobs.
Yeah.
I think my partner learnt that the hard way last year. He was like, because he tours a lot with artists and bands, and he went away and he went consecutively for about 4 months with different people, no day off, hardly. And afterwards, I was saying, you need to say no to some of this.
Yeah.
But he was like, no, because it's the money and there's not going to be much in January and it might lead to more things. And afterwards, he was just like dead. He was absolutely worn out. So I think, it's important to be able to say no, even though it's hard.
It is hard. It really is hard. And that's one of the things in my industry. It's kind of like a big thing. And going that way. But I suppose, for me, the way I look upon it is if I don't have that space in my diary, because I have to diary time off and diary seeing people, so the diary's a bit like rules your life in a sense. There's not much spare time in that. But I suppose if I don't do that, then I'm no good for anybody.
No.
Because I'm not going to be working at my best level, at my best thought, my best energy. So it kind of like makes it even more important, not just for me to have the time out, but for my clients to have that time out, because I can give them my best when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. Because especially with your job, you don't want to turn up to a client and be knackered and be burnt out. You won't do your job to the best of your ability, and it's like anything. I don't want to go to a gig and be like, it's like if you go in hungover or something.
Yeah.
I guess it's a similar thing where it's like it's kind of your own fault because you've done it to yourself. You've said yes to too much. You've done it. So you don't want to go knackered and not do the best job. You need to build. I think as well, reputation's a massive thing.
It is.
Everyone, you need to do a good job, because if not, especially in like music, people hear of different people. If you don't do a good job somewhere, everyone will know, and that's your work gone. It's really important to be on time, be good at what you do, make sure that you're not going in hungover or burnt out. I think it's vitally important.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not just for us, personally, but also for the work we do and the people we see.
Absolutely.
With that. So I suppose going forward, is there kind of a way that young people, certainly older people as well, but more importantly, young people, are trying to get the foot on the ladder and trying to get a house, trying to get a home, trying to get a life. Is there a way that you use to kind of like network with other young people to kind of give you that reinforcement, or do you not bother?
What do you mean?
Is it helpful to kind of network with other people, just as I'm in this place and I'm feeling knackered, and and then other people can give you that, no, go on, you can do it, you can.
Absolutely.
Is important?
Oh, a problem shared is a problem halved, isn't it? Like chatting to people, and I feel very lucky that my mum and dad have always been like so supportive, and if I've ever needed to speak to them about anything, you know, I've always felt like I can, and I feel so blessed and lucky in that sense. But I think it's something that's stuck with me my whole life, and that I don't struggle to reach out for help, and I don't struggle. I've got a really strong network of friends and family around me that, I'm so comfortable in being like, God, I feel knackered. I'm struggling, and they go, "But you're doing so well." And like having like people there to tell you that you're doing well and like reinforce that, like you say, is just so important. I think it's so important, and it's easy to like be distant from friends and family especially whilst you're being self-employed, because it's a constant grind. But my God, is it important to have people around you more than anything. I think more than any job or any kind of opportunity, I think just keeping your friends close is just so important.
Yeah, because they can give you that perspective. Other people that might be in competition with you in the industry might not necessarily
exactly. They're not your
that.
friends. Like, the people that you know and you'll get on with and you'll network with, but they're not your friends. They're not good. They don't know you. They've not known how you were at school like 10 years ago or whatever. The people who really know you are the ones that you need to keep around and stay close with. And I try my absolute hardest to do that, because I just know how important it is. And I wouldn't be happy if I didn't have my friends around. I think I'd be stuck in a complete cycle of grinding, but I'd just feel lonely, and you don't want to be lonely.
Well, that's the thing that works into a depressive process, isolation.
Yeah.
When we're going into a depressive process, we tend to isolate ourselves, and that just kind of spins it further and further and further down. And so you can get less and less and less connection.
Yeah.
You know? So it's really hard sometimes to connect, because I don't know, you are busy and you have got a life and you have to do this and you have to do that. But that connection with people that can give you a different perspective, give you more of a personal aspect of, no, you did well, you did that really good. I think that is, as you say, so important.
Absolutely.
Without it, I don't know whether you survive.
Yeah. That outside perspective of someone that's not working in your field is everything, because it's like a kind of normal view, if that makes sense, and not a view from someone who's involved in your industry. I think as well, with being self-employed and being freelance, it can be isolating because you're working on your own a lot. You don't have like work friends as such. You have people that you work around, and like people that you chat to, and like people, artists that you work with, or like sound engineers. But you don't have that like strong. When I've worked in bars and restaurants, you're a team.
Yes.
You've got each other. Like it's great, and it's so nice. And sometimes it can feel quite lonely and isolating to be working on your own, but that is why it's so important to just make sure you've got those friends and you have people around you.
Yeah, that's one of the things counsellors really kind of know, because we can't actually talk about our work, whereas you can maybe have maybe some conversations you won't have, like a future business or a future networking, you might not tell somebody.
No, yeah.
But by and large, you can discuss the industry.
Absolutely.
We can't.
Yeah.
Because it's all confidential.
Yeah.
So everything we do, generally speaking, is kind of behind that curtain. And so that can isolate us even further. Yeah. So it's really, really important that we reach out. So if, like you, when you were working in the bar, if you're working in an organisation as a counsellor, you have team members, you have colleagues.
Yeah.
And you can discuss stuff, because the organisation, the stuff.
Yeah.
You can't talk about individual clients necessarily, but you can talk about themes, or you can talk about the job, or you can talk about the process. But when you're self-employed and you're working for yourself, it becomes a lot harder. So it's really good that you've put that across, because it does need to be kind of at the forefront of our minds, really. We need to reach out. We need to connect. We need to have different people in different places with different ideas and perspectives.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't have said that better myself.
You did good. How's it been kind of talking about this in the podcast?
Sure, I've really enjoyed it. It's been really interesting. It's nice to kind of sit and reflect on things and kind of think about it a bit more, because I'm constantly like in a cycle of working and getting different jobs and do stuff. You don't really sit and talk about it.
No.
Even to my friends, I don't really sit and talk about it. I'm just kind of, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, but you don't really sit and reflect on it. So it's been really nice.
Oh,
thank you for having me on.
No, I think the kind of subject, certainly for me, is a really interesting one of how you organise and work your world, being that freelancer. Because I think it is really hard, and I don't think people who are in a paid position have paid employment. The PAYE, they don't get it.
No.
Because it is a massively different world.
Yeah, it is.
And so, it's nice when maybe, if there's somebody listening, somebody watching, that they've got a partner who's self-employed and they aren't. This might give them a bit of an idea.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah,
I really hope so.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know why it made me think, but when you were saying about like people who are kind of PAYE, a lot like the way to get into freelance stuff, you don't get paid for it at first.
No.
And I don't think people can wrap their heads around that. But I didn't get paid. I was like volunteering and shadowing people for a while before I got paid for anything, which is so funny. I think about it now and I'm like, I don't know if I'd do that now.
Well, yeah, because when you're trying to get the experience or the knowledge or whatever you're trying to get, or you have to go to university or college to get that, and you have to fund it yourself.
Yeah,
obviously, all that means that you're not going to get paid for that time.
No.
And nobody's going to pay you for that time. So there's a massive investment in your career, isn't there?
Oh, there is. Absolutely. Because you could put in all this time shadowing people, volunteering for stuff, and you don't know that anything's going to come of it. But it's just the persistent, like, you just got to keep trying, keep swimming, Yeah.
Well, it's really been good talking to you, Molly.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in and sharing that with us.
Thank you.
And obviously, if anybody's feeling that these kind of issues and problems are part of their world and their life, hopefully it'll give them an idea of maybe different ways to think about it or do things differently.
Yeah, I hope so.
In order to survive.
I really hope so.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for listening to the podcast, and hopefully it made sense and was interesting for you. Please subscribe, like and share. With the podcasts, you never know who will be helped by the things we talk about, things we share. We don't normally tell people our problems, but by sharing it and helping other people to understand things. The book Insecurity, It's All About Me, is also available now through Amazon. And it gives you an understanding of what drives insecurity, how insecurity works within our human dynamics, and how you can get a much more secure connection with people. It gives you lots of ideas and thoughts, which is really good. So thanks for listening. Subscribe, like, share, hit the button. And if you've got any comments, please give me them, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks very much. Take care.